Welcome to Dice and Mind, a podcast hosted by Brad Brown and Jason Kaufman to explore the intersection of life, games, science, music, philosophy, and creativity through interviews with leading creatives. All are welcome in this space.
This is going to be a more organic episode because we have reached the end of year 4
Year 4?
of Dice and Mind. We are moving on to year 5, so we'll do a little bit of a retrospective, but I mean, our retrospective is our prior episodes.
Yeah.
So,
And we're going to spend more of our time for
talking
this
about
one talking about year 5.
year 5
Thoughts for year 5, right?
Yeah, and I think, from my perspective, if you think about, you know, year 4, it really started with Jeff Ashworth, who was one of our first ever
Yeah.
guests
Yeah.
coming back
And that was a
after.
good discussion. We got
Oh, it
into
was.
it.
But I kind of alluded to this. I didn't get to finish my thought, and I paused it before you hit record. I look at the people that we've been able to have on as guests in our 4th year. And I look at the names of these people, and I think how lucky we are just based off of how we've been able to grow and get these people to join us in year 4. I think like
writers,
Sarah Alamad from Planetary Radio.
Yes. She was so much fun. I mean, I listen to her every week, but she was so much fun.
I see her in, now if I'm on Facebook, they have, because I follow the Planetary Society on their Facebook page and everything.
Yeah.
I see her popping up on the Planetary Society commercials with Bill Nye and everything.
Right.
I'm like, oh, she was on our podcast.
I know. But you think of who we've had. So we've had broadcasters, we've had game creators, we've had game designers and producers, managers, we've had scientists, we've had
game
journalists,
marketers.
we've had marketers, yes.
Sophie from Modifius joined us. We had our first game marketer. So we had one of our first guests who was a game podcaster and is now talking about Dungeon Master parenting, Shelley Mazanoble.
Yep, Shelley, you are awesome.
So, I mean, we just had, if you go back and look at our list from episode 121 forward. Is that 121? No,
120.
120
but
forward.
Like you said, we have been so fortunate to talk with such a diverse range of lovely, interesting, intelligent people. The one thing I will say is over year 4, I think, and we talk a lot about this on our episodes, of course, Brad, but I think a big shift for us that really sunk in over year 4 was our growing focus on lit RPG, right? Like not like dude, but as RPGs, as literature, as reading material, and that really turned both of us on. Like that kind of hit a groove.
And the kind of the close cousin to that as using RPGs to generate literature, which is something that predated year 4, but really has, I mean, the idea of the merger of RPGs and literature, we're seeing it, and it's always been there, but we're seeing those creative venues. And I don't think it's just us finding it.
No, I think we are some of the few who are articulating it and trying to put it out there to generate discussion. And to just, have fun. But I think you're right, and I think increasingly we're having guests, not just Jim Johnson. We're having more and more guests who get this and are thinking and talking about this, but there aren't a whole lot of venues for it. And just to back up for a sec, like to go a little meta, in a good way, but to go a little meta, I think
Meta doesn't have to. People when you
no,
say go meta,
I
people think
was
that it's a
joking
bad thing.
about
Were you
Zuckerberg.
gonna think I was gonna
Yeah.
make fun of you or
No, I was joking about
no?
Zuckerberg.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
uh,
Oh,
but look, I'm on Facebook all the time. Who am I
yeah,
to,
I know,
you
me
know,
too.
let he who is without a good Wi-Fi signal cast the first
The
stone.
first stone, yes.
Um, but I think back to our original impetus for Dyson Mind. And it remains true. Like this is the through thread, I think. It's just blossoming in an unexpected direction that we from day one have been really, really interested in game mechanics because they're just fun.
Because we're data nuts, we're data nerds, data nuts, whatever you want to call it.
Absolutely.
We
Yeah.
love the idea of mechanics and looking at how
Right.
the randomness of a dice roll or the non-randomness of it,
Right.
you know?
How it's like life.
Yes,
And from day one on Dice and Mind, we've been taken with the role of storytelling.
yes.
And I say this as someone who doesn't really and probably never will really exist in a fiction space. I mean, in my head, I'm in that space all the time, right?
Hmm.
Like, because it's only a matter of time until Star Trek, like we catch up with that history. One hopes, maybe not these days. But I mean, ultimately, isn't our whole thing about RPG and lit, isn't that really ultimately about storytelling? Right? Like the
Oh, yeah,
ability,
yeah.
I mean, not to simplify it, but yeah, like just the ability of through these games to tell these stories, or just telling stories and then figuring out how to put them into the games, or just that reciprocity. But like when we say literature, I mean, we're obviously talking to people who are way more articulate and knowledgeable about this than we are. But like at the end of the day, it's still that storytelling element that I think hooked us from the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone who's played or plays currently knows that, um, you know, even if you're not putting pen to paper or
Hmm.
you're not putting
Stylus to tablet.
index to stylus to tablet or index finger to F key if you're using the proper form of when you're typing, um, which it looks like you aren't because you're loud looking at your keyboard. It looks
Yeah,
like it's trying to figure.
I'm like, wait, I don't remember the lineup. I mean, I got pretty good form and
you
posture,
know,
but
but if you think about it, if you're not even doing that and you're just telling the story organically and you're sitting down with your kids and
yeah,
playing a game, whether you were doing it with your kids and your nephews
yeah,
and playing,
yeah,
you were weaving a story.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
now it's a matter of people doing that and now taking that creativity and putting it into a form like a game. And um, I just,
Yeah,
and the one that just is like the most like in your face in a good way, in an absolute phenomenal way. Reminder of that is like when Michael Lowe came on and talked about Infinibrix
yeah,
with us.
yes,
There's an example of taking household toys or whatever
yeah,
and
so clever.
using that and a very simple mechanic and turning that into a game and being able to tell stories.
Yeah.
Or our friend Michael Dismuke, well, and he plays with his nephews and all that, how
Hmm.
he
Hmm.
uses AI tools. He was using AI tools before anyone I really
Really
knew.
early adopter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And he takes his games that he plays with them and he turns them into stories so that his the kids can read them
yeah,
afterwards.
isn't that cool?
So, um,
Okay, so let me ask you a question then.
yeah,
I'll put you on the spot. We started talking about this right before we hit record, but you and I really haven't talked it out. Although, I mean,
mhm.
I think we're very much on the same wavelength. So,
We purposely haven't talked some of this out because we wanted it to be
yeah,
an organic
right.
discussion when we hit record.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Otherwise, we would, right, we would have wasted it.
Otherwise, that we, yeah.
So as we record, we are just a few days past the 4-year anniversary for Dyson Mind. And as this drops, it'll be just like
What's the actual date? Is it the
4/11.
11?
And
Okay.
so this will drop 10 days after. So as this episode drops, we are just starting year 5. So let me ask you, my friend,
Hmm.
on the spot here, and this doesn't have to be like specific answers, right?
Hmm.
But what are your hopes or dreams for Dice and Mind in year five?
I think we have to dive into the creative uses of AI tools. We have to talk
Mm-hmm.
more about that. We've
Okay.
seen that with um, with Michael, um, someone who I've reconnected with through professional endeavors, who I've talked with
Yep.
you
Yep.
about. Steve, you know who you are. He has been showing me some of the stuff that he's been doing
Right.
with his gaming. I haven't even had a chance to talk to you about some of the stuff that
Yeah, we
he's
need to.
done
We've
recently.
both been busy again.
Yes. Um, by the way, I have to find it. He showed me the stuff he did with the Millennium Falcon stuff. I have to find
Oh
that on YouTube
man, you
for
were
you.
telling me about that.
Yeah, but ultimately, he was showing me some of the games that a recent game that he played where he used AI tools to generate visuals and things like that. I mean,
Yeah.
so so and and the stuff that he was reading and showing me, first of all, he's a phenomenal storyteller. Um, and two, the use of that to augment his storytelling. He's a phenomenal storyteller without AI.
Yeah.
He uses these tools to augment his ability and make his storytelling even better.
Yeah.
So I think having those type of discussions
Yeah.
in year five, I think is going to be important because, um, and I know we have people out there that we've talked with before that are using them now. And I know we have people that we haven't talked with that are on our radar because we talked about that,
Yep.
that we're going to
Yep.
have on that we're going to do that. Um, there are games out there and some people and some writers
Yes.
that we want to talk to. And I think, you and I have talked about this. The idea of creativity
Yep.
in year five is important just
Yes.
because um, without being too much of a downer, we're in a tough environment. And I think expressing creativity, getting down, and whether you're writing or drawing or or music, whether it's on a recorder or an instrument, whatever it is,
Yep.
I think is that can generate positivity, both within
Mm-hmm.
yourself or for those around you.
Hmm.
So I think any way we can do that, I think
And
we're doing something good.
and I go so far as to suggest that being creative, and I mean that literally like creating, like
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
creative in one venue has major potential to influence and feed creativity in other venues.
Oh,
So, like your
absolutely.
time on the guitar, one way or another, can only benefit your time at the gaming table,
Yeah, or you know what? I'll be honest.
and vice versa.
When you've talked about in the past when you've talked about playing on the piano, it's reminded me I need to go and get on my guitar, and then I get on my guitar and I play.
Hmm.
So there's cross pollination there
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Um, and let's how many times have we talked with guests who have talked about
Oh,
writing
oh yeah.
and creativity and stuff, and we've gotten off the phone and we've wanted to write or we've actually written.
Yep.
So I think the more we can talk to those folks that are creating, um, hopefully that for those that listen, that spurs them to be creative.
Hmm.
And selfishly, maybe it helps those who are the guests. It reminds them that what they're doing is important.
Nice. So AI as a tool, creativity. Obviously, we're gonna have writing. Like we're gonna keep talking about writing. I mean,
Yeah, and I
obviously,
think
obviously.
and I think the other thing too is um, you know um, there are some games that we have been meaning to get back to talking about, um,
Yep.
you know, that or games that we haven't talked about that we have had on our radar that we want to get to. Um, and those are coming um, really in effect in Q3. So, um,
Yeah.
and to be honest with you, with us doing a show every other week, the quarters and the months come quick because there's
They
only two
do.
shows a month,
They
two,
do.
maybe three if it's a 5 week month.
That's
So
exactly
how
right.
about
Yeah.
you? What's been kind of like um, things that maybe let me I'm going to actually kind of like take the question and maybe kind of adjust it a little bit.
Mhm.
Are there things that um, we have done in the past that maybe you want to reemphasize in year five? That's A, part A. And part B, are there things that have been on your mind that we haven't hit on yet that you think we should in year five?
Those are good questions. Okay, so things we have and I think should do more of, and things we haven't and we need to.
Yeah.
Okay. So, boy, that's tougher questions than I would expect, honestly. Um, I know I've talked about like I've mentioned this to you time and again over the really for some time, at least the past year. I would like to bring in more creative individuals. Let me rephrase that. I would like to bring in creative individuals from more franchises.
Yeah.
So for example, I I really would like to bring in more about Star Wars.
Okay.
We had Bill Smith on back in 2022, back on in
West End
episode
Games.
70, right? Yep.
All hail West
Um,
End Games.
oh my
Oh.
God. And I mean, I truly felt as if I were talking to royalty. I
Hmm.
I really I mean, I really did. I would
That's really the first time that you spent time like um I had to get off because I had something, but you stayed one on one talking with him for quite a
yeah,
while.
good memory. He was it was yes, it was fascinating and I think he offered to come back. Um, I would
Oh, I would think
love.
he would. It was
I
such a
mean,
good
Bill, I'm sure
conversation.
you're not listening. You have much better things to do. But I would love to have Bill Smith. Now that's kind of a hyper specific example to use your term, but I would love to have Bill Smith on. But I would like to address more in and around Star Wars. The franchise is huge. There's nothing going on with the RPG right now, to our mutual shared chagrin.
Hmm.
That said, like I would love, and I'm just naming it. I
Hmm.
would very much like to get someone from Edge Studio.
Hmm.
But I would really like to get more people who are involved with Star Wars writ large. So that could be RPG. I would love to get a producer from one of the shows. Someone who's involved even with their books or comics, right? I mean, it's Star Wars, it's huge. There are so many creative things happening. And like you and I aren't huge fans of everything that's happening,
Hmm.
but there's Star Wars. There's new Star Wars. As we record a week from now, Andor season 2 will drop. It'll drop tomorrow night
And
from
it's
when
getting
this.
some pretty the previews
It looks
it
incredible.
have gotten some pretty positive
Yes.
reviews. People are pretty excited about it.
And there's Star Wars Underworlds,
Hmm.
right? And then there are all the comics and the books coming out. So I would like to very much get more into
Star Wars the
this.
toilet paper, Star Wars the baseball bat. Oh,
I
sorry, that was
would
baseball.
I mean I'd use them both.
Yeah.
Not at the same time, but
No.
so I think things like that where there are franchises where we've barely touched, there are all of these different lines that we spend so much time. Like it would be fun to get more into Marvel. Although in all fairness, we've been doing that.
Hmm.
So that's been going along. But so things like that.
We just had Kelly on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Big time. So things like that would be really interesting to me. Like Matt Horowitz talked about the Marvel RPG, stuff like that. It's like we've been in
And
that space, but
they've
there's
got some
more.
big releases. They just
Right.
the starter kit for the Marvel Multiverse RPG just pre-orders just opened up on Amazon for that.
See, there we go. Okay, hold on,
So
everybody. Brad's walking over to his. No, just kidding.
no,
Yeah.
I don't have that one yet.
Beep boop. Yeah.
I'm yep,
He's making an order. No.
yep.
So okay, so I guess that's my prime answer for what would I like us to be doing more of
Okay.
that we've done. I'd really like to spend some more time around dealing with people in and around Star Wars and like some of the other franchises. Again, there's so much going on right now. Let's get into that creativity. Um, your second question, what would I like us to be doing that we haven't really explored?
Yeah, is there anything you think that that um we haven't we haven't touched on, or we maybe just tangentially touched on that you think we need to dive into
I don't
further,
know
you know?
about diving into, but something that I always really enjoy. I would like to occasionally spend an episode looking at two things. One, I'd like to spend a little more time dealing with dice mechanics again.
Yes.
Because some of
It's been quite a while since we did that.
it's been quite a while, and those have been fascinating conversations. And there are mechanics out there right now that you and I have talked about, um, where well, so like 2 weeks from this episode, we're going to kind of touch on another like on a 3D6 system, but we didn't get into the mechanics. Not
Hmm.
really. So there are 3D6 systems out there I would like to explore, and I'd like to have someone on who's really expert to walk us through, like we've done with some of the others. There's a D10 system out there, at least one, that I'd like to do. Oh, and then this one's for you, and this is a loose association, but this came up on a feed somewhere recently. I think we still ought to get someone from games like Burning Wheel.
No, you know me,
Yeah.
I'm still that burning wheel slash torchbearer,
Yep.
um,
Hmm.
still fascinating to me. Um, I know Burning Wheel Con, there was just some emails I think that came out about it. Um, one of these years we do need to hit a con.
Yeah.
Who are we talking about that said there's one in Madison
Oh,
that's
Jim.
pretty popular?
Okay.
No, Jim was talking about one in Minnesota, but there's one in Madison that's pretty popular.
Oh, I don't know.
Um, it
I
was
don't
not.
know.
I don't think it was Jim that mentioned it. It was someone else that talked about it, and I'll have to go look it up.
But if we
Um,
do that, like you and I are not con people,
well, we're not. I
but
don't. I don't. We're not. We're not going to dress up. We're just not
but
that type. We're lower key. We're just lower key people. That's just
but
what we
it
are.
but it for multiple
You're not
reasons,
going to dress up as Uhura, are you?
not again, no. But for
Okay.
multiple reasons, thanks, because I just watched Star Trek 5 a couple weeks ago. Now I can't get that out of my head. That's
Why are you
unfortunate.
going to say not
Yeah,
Uhura
good
with the
memory.
feather
I did not with the feathers
with
and
the
the
feather
silhouette with the backlighting. I
boa
did
up in it?
not remember that, and I thought, oh, Mr. Shatner, no.
Oh,
Um,
I thought it would. Did you have to run to the bathroom after that or anything or?
no, I was sufficiently offended by the whole sequence. Um,
Okay.
but you and I've kind of played with this notion very loosely, but maybe year five will be the year where we go to one of the cons and we record while we're there.
Yeah, I think that would be fun
Yeah,
to sit down and
talk to creatives, talk to gamers, writers, every designers, everything.
yeah. The
Yep.
only problem is that we've talked to a lot of people, but no one will remember what we look like. So, um, and
Well, to their benefit, but that'll be the excuse to have Dyson Mind t-shirts made.
yeah, or hoodies or yeah, shirts. That'll be
Yep.
fine. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, whatever. And yep.
Business cards.
Those we have. Yep.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah,
you did make
I've
those.
got a
Yes.
box full in the
Yeah, I
closet.
got them on my shelf. That's right.
Yep.
Yes, we do have those. Yes.
So yeah, so I think that's where I think that th those are what I would add to our list. I mean, obviously there's a lot we can do and will do in year five, and everybody, lest it sounds like we have some master plan. If you've been listening to Dice and Mind for any time at all, you know that Brad's favorite word is organic because that's how we roll.
That's I mean, let's be honest. I think we've talked about this before with folks, but I don't know if we've talked about it lately. You know, very early on, we thought about would we ever get to a point where we'd monetize, and that
Sorry, give me a
hasn't.
sec. I can hear the laughing inside my head.
Yeah, I know,
Okay.
and that hasn't come up. That hasn't come up since mid season one. Um,
And we don't. Yeah,
that's just.
that's not
I
the
mean,
purpose. Right.
we don't have the listenership for it. Let's be honest.
Nope.
One, two, um, you know, the kind of the running humor behind these shows is that you are listening. If what you're hearing now without a guest is kind of the way Jason and I talk. All the difference is that we've just hit record.
And I
Um,
mean, you are still reluctant to pay me for my friendship, so I don't see anyone else
yeah,
paying us for
I'm still
this.
not going to do that either.
Yeah,
So,
you're getting quite the deal. Yeah.
I'm still, I mean, I'm still having to pay for Ange or, pay Ange for,
Yeah, marriage.
to be around here.
Yeah,
So
yeah, we know.
I can't afford that.
We know.
I can't afford it. But, so for us and what we get, when you think of when, the revenue we get from this is meeting all of our guests. And there is so much that, there's so much that we've gotten out of this that is, that is just it, the friendships we've made, the help we've gotten with things.
Yeah,
Um, it, some of it
yeah.
we can't put a monetary value on.
No,
So
no.
it hasn't been something we've talked about in a long time, other than for humor, like what Jason says when we bring it up and we want to laugh about something.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, um, and it's not something we're considering.
No,
we do this because we enjoy doing it.
that's right.
Um, there are nights where we're both kind of tired and, we're both like, oh God, we got to slug down there and do this. Um, my wife looks forward to the time when she can get me out of the family room and get me down here. So, my daughter is the one that always asks me, are you recording tonight? Because she needs to just work her workouts around here because she comes down here and uses the spin bike and stuff. That's the inconvenience for her. But um,
That's right.
from my perspective, you know, to me, this is a an escape from, work and everything else, and it's a joy to do, and it's priceless to me. And that sounds cliche, but it is.
No, 100% agree.
You know,
100%
so
agree.
there's no plans for us to stop doing it. I think the cadence we have with it being twice every other week works. When we were doing it every week, I think we were burning out.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
we were definitely burning out.
so, but going forward, I think we'll stay on that same tangent. Um, or same tangent, that same schedule, same
Yeah, no,
tangent.
you pretty much labeled.
We will continue to go off on tangents on the same schedule we've been going on.
Yeah.
Um, we will continue to try to throw Jim in at least every episode. Jim's name comes up in every episode. If Jim's name doesn't come up in an episode,
It's
Jason
pretty
owes
much
Jim $5.
it's pretty much the dice and
Um,
mind drinking game at this
yeah,
point.
that is pretty much the case.
Yeah,
Um, and going forward, we try to make our content useful to folks. We're
yep,
just two middle-aged guys with kids who are in or close to college age.
yep, yep.
I mean, what is it? We started this 4 years ago, so April of 21. I'm
So
trying to
maybe,
think.
yeah, I mean, April of 21. I know, and that was
Yeah,
after 6 months of pretty serious planning.
yeah, and we were talking about this during. I remember we talked about it. If we do want to recollect, I think that was the funny part is we started discussing doing this during the pandemic.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
when we were zooming or using Facebook Messenger to chat, just so that we could all socialize when we were all isolating. Um, and it took a long time for us to to have enough there to decide to do it. And then even with after 6 months of planning, how much changed in a very short amount of time to get us to the point where we had the format we have now.
yeah, yeah. That's exactly right. So I think for this very short episode, maybe
How much have we run here?
we're right around half an hour.
Oh, that's it.
That's it. But we're starting to close, so like in 50 minutes we'll be done.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah. But
I do have to ask. I know we weren't going to do a Loon Cafe this week,
yeah,
but you have finished reorganizing your
it's
office.
funny you say so the complete renovation is done.
Hmm.
Yes. And as I look over at the gaming
That's what
shelves,
I wanted to focus on because we're
oh, thank you.
recording here.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you to look on your shelf
Yep, I have
over there
been.
right now,
Yep.
and and not anything Trek related, and I'm
Yep.
not picking on Trek.
No, no.
What's the first thing that catches your attention in the RPG section?
I mean, I have to look away from all the track.
I know that's what I'm saying is that you have
Um,
to look away from the Trek
well, let
to
me start by let me start with this response. So before the renovation, just because of other things I had on the built-in bookshelf, uh, as you know, like I had been thinning out some of the RPG material that I wasn't using that I'd never used or played, and I was at a real shortage of space.
yeah.
Now I am
You didn't get
looking
rid of
at
Midnight, did you?
no, 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 no. No,
Okay.
I didn't get rid of any more. No.
Okay.
Um, but now I'm looking at just I mean a major surplus of space. Like I have the space now to, if I wanted to, I could almost literally double. I could probably literally double what I have. I'm not going to do
I know
that.
you're not. Well, I know
But
that's not who you are,
so
but
what jumps out at me? Worlds of Android is still just a phenomenal, and talk about lit. Actually, there's something we should be looking at for an episode. Um, uh, I
Genesis,
still I'm
Android
looking at it
with
right
Worlds
now.
of End.
I'm
Yeah,
looking at the Genesis source book. Sorry, the Genesis core rulebook and the expanded player's handbook, and those are just so good.
we should
The-
look out there. I should look out there and see who's still really doing some heavy Genesis gaming. Um,
well,
and
yeah, because
yeah,
Edge is putting out like sorry, what is it? Imperium?
yeah,
Um,
they
thank you. Yeah.
Twilight Imperium, which I
Uh,
still think is like the coolest board game ever. And
yeah,
they have a couple books now out
for the RPG.
for Genesis
Yeah,
as
yeah.
as a um as a whatever you call it. I, Goodness gracious.
What is
Um,
source books?
yeah, source books.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
I've seen the announcements. What about you? When you look over at your shelf,
You know,
what stands out?
I think um well, I can't see from this far, but um and that's my eyes. But I have my shelf on the left, which is really all um what's over there. That's
Well,
really
in
all Trek and
in
GURPS.
the mind's eye, what
Yeah,
stands
in Trek
out?
and GURPS. But the I we switched gears and I forgot to mention this when we were talking about games before.
Yeah.
And um dice mechanics.
Yes.
And I would love to do an episode. It would be a really odd out of left field or out of right field, whatever you want to call it, format. But sell Jason on the D100 dice
No,
mechanic.
it's just never gonna happen.
Because that's the Rune Quest mechanic.
Yeah, yeah,
That
right.
is kind of the legacy. A derivative Warhammer runs a D100 mechanic, a percentile mechanic. Cthulhu, I think, runs that. Basic role playing, which is like their Genesis, their sandbox. Basic role playing, the BRP system
Okay.
runs off of that mechanic. Um, and I've pondered about. I looked at that before I settled on GURPS. Um, but
Okay.
I liked GURPS because I didn't have to sell you on the D100, one, and two, GURPS just had a enormous amount of source material that I didn't have to modify to make work in what I've been wanting to do for a long time. So that's
Yeah.
why I settled in that environment. Um, but when I got into using AI, and I sent you some of that stuff before, when I was having it compare and having Gemini, I was using Gemini for this, Google's Gemini, and having it try to do comparisons between dice mechanics for certain situations. It was
Yeah.
actually funny for it to try to explain those to me. But doing an episode um, on the D1, ignoring the fact that it's just not going to be your thing, and I understand that. But having someone come in and talk about a D100, which I kind of like, it's interesting because you remember at one point, 2D20 was a harder sell. Um,
Yeah, it was.
but 2D20 is very different than a D100, and I get that. 2D20, I think, was an easier sell than a D100 would be. Um, Although a D100 is, you know, is a decimal based type of system. It kind of plays to mathematics for us. Um,
True.
but
I don't
um,
know.
that just I think that just came to mind when I go to the mind's eye of systems. Um, I'm kind of fascinated these days with um, sandbox systems, Genesis,
Yeah.
um, GURPS, basic role playing, um, Savage Worlds, even Fate. Um, I'm just interested in how they came together and the source material for them and what people are developing for them, just because, um, you know, I see there a real potential for creativity for people that may not necessarily want to live in a sci-fi world or may not want to live in a high fantasy world
Right.
or may want to, before other games come out, want to dive into, based off of a recent conversation we have, dun, 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 hard magic, you know?
I'd like to get into that more too.
So I think that's kind of um I think that's
Yeah,
where I think
that's
that's I think that's kind of
more than
a
enough for
good
year
place.
five.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where I think we could wrap it up right now
Yeah,
for year five.
I do think we can end though with the and not to be a cliche, but truly the biggest element, which is all of you out there who have indulged us by listening to us, whether for an episode or two, or especially those of you who have been with us for the past 4+ years. Um, a huge thank you to all of you from both
Oh
of us.
yeah. Yeah.
It
And not
amazes
just
and
you,
humbles
Brian, who
us.
listens to us in the
Right,
morning on the treadmill or where
right.
we know you do because then you message us in the morning afterwards and make a commentary on. We love it.
Yes,
We
yes.
do, seriously.
And
So,
so many episodes I think of Eric like yelling at us trying to get into the conversation.
yes.
Yeah. Which is just great. But truly everybody out there, thank you so much for being with us for some or all of these past 4 years. As you can see, there's a lot to come in year five. Some of it will be much more of what we've been doing, and some of it will be completely novel, and we'll organically find it out
Mhm.
together. So you all know the deal. Be well, stay well. We will see you in a couple weeks.